day, senior high icons. Welcome to ICI AP My E-Class. I'm Mr. Aldrin G. Sikitin, a faculty of Immaculate Conception Polytechnic Senior High School under the General Academic Strand. This semester, I will be handling English 400 or 21st century literature from the Philippines and the world.
Okay, good day everyone. So today we're going to discuss another topic. But before we move on to that topic, or before I introduce you to today's topic, let me ask you first a question. How do you want your life to be remembered? Okay, so I'll give you a chance to answer it on the comment section below. Write your answer to the question, how do you want your life to be remembered? Okay, so every one of us wants to be remembered as a happy-go-lucky, a jolly person, someone who do good to others, something like that. Ayan. But it may depend on the person who is answering this question. So, I let you put your answer on the comment section and I'll try to read it one by one. Okay, so before the objectives for today's lesson are the following. So today we're going to define memoir and its unique attributes as literary genre. Also, we're going to explain the differences or the difference among memoirs, autobiographies, and diaries. And lastly, we're going to discuss the significance of the memoir as both a means of expressions and a way of documenting history, as memoirs somehow contains historical facts or events that transcribe or transpired in the past. Okay, so let's start the discussion. Again, we're going to discuss memoir, or some say that it is pronounced as memoir. Okay, the origin of the word memoir is the French word mémoire, which means memory or reminiscence. So technically, basically, the content of a memoir is something to be remembered. Okay? A thing, an event, an experience that is worth remembering. So those are the possible contents of a memoir. Okay? So the definition of a memoir is it is a subgenre of creative nonfiction. So basically, it falls under the genre nonfiction prose. Memoir recounts the experiences of someone's life. So events or experiences that happened in a person's life. Okay? Another is that it usually involves a public portion of the writer's life as it relates to a historic event. So as I have said a while ago, memoir contains events that is somehow important to the person's life or to someone's life, and it is also important in the history of a certain place. Also, it falls under the same broad category that includes biographies, autobiographies, and diaries. It all contains experiences or events that happened in a person's life. So, later on, we're going to discuss the differences among the mentioned literary piece or literary pieces. Okay, next. Here's the differences among those literary pieces. So differences between memoir and other kinds of reminiscent writing. So, the first one is biography. So, biographies are accounts of one's life written by another person. So basically, if you are the topic of that story or of that literary piece, it is the story of your life written by someone else. Okay? Maybe a famous writer or maybe your friend. Okay? So these are heavily based on research, whereas memories rely mostly on memory and recollection. So basically, if you want your life to be written by someone else, uh, that writer may ask you questions about your life, about your personal, about you. Okay? He may also, or that person or that writer may also ask questions to the persons who are close to you. Okay, maybe your friend, uh, your family, uh, your classmates before, your teachers, or someone who known you for a long period of time that may give information about you. Okay, so those are biographies. Again, it is a story or accounts of a person's life written by a certain person or a certain writer. And then we have memoirs, autobiographies, and diaries. So they somehow share the same attributes or characteristics or a characteristic. So these literary pieces are all written by individual whose story is being told. Okay, so basically, memoirs, autobiographies, and diaries contains or was written by a person which the content is also his or her life or story of your life written by yourself. Okay, so those are or that is the characteristic of memoirs, autobiographies, and diaries. So those are their differences. And so also I have mentioned their similarities. So let's talk about some detailed differences among memoirs, autobiographies, and diaries. Since they all have the same attributes. Okay, so memoirs is concerned in a very specific life event, whereas an autobiography recounts a more general, broader story of one's life. So memoirs may focus on a certain event, certain day of someone's life. He or she may talk about uh, a day on his life or her life that somehow um, memorable and worth sharing to others. On the other hand, autobiography or autobiographies focuses on a detailed story of someone. Yeah. So those are the differences between memoirs and autobiography. A diary, on the other hand, is a day-to-day account of a person's life and is thus an immediate recording of personal experiences. So, if autobiography and memoirs contain a public part of someone, diary is the contrary of those literary genre. So, diary contains the private experiences or private information about a person or someone. It may contain your experiences, uh, which are somehow not that public or not that open to others. So those are the content of diaries. It contains your day-to-day daily experiences and also your secrets. Ayan. So in Tagalog, if you are creating or if you are writing on your daily journal or diary, 'di ba? Ito yung mga events, ito yung mga information na somehow ayaw mong i-share sa iba at gusto mo lang itago sa iyong sarili na in the future gusto mo pa ring maalala. So parang yun yung content ng ating diary. Ayan. So and then a memoir, because it is written sometime after the significant period of one's life, it allows a profound reflection on the part of the writer. So, somehow, yun naman yung pinagkaiba ni memoir. So, diary may contain just the experience or experiences of the writer. On the other hand, memoir contains reflection. It contains lesson. Okay? It has learning on the part of the writer. So, you may put there the your realizations on that specific life event. So, that's the difference of memoir to a diary. Okay, next, let's have the significance of memoir. First, memoir can be a powerful means of chronicling a historical episode through one person's first-hand experience of that event. We can make an event immortalized. Okay? We can make a specific life event uh, somehow how do we call it in Filipino? Nakakamangha, kumbaga. Ayan. So, because some memoir is somehow subjective, but it contains information that really happened on that specific time or day. Okay? We can make a specific or a common or a usual day extraordinary on memoirs. If that day somehow brought you realizations, specific or extravagant or an important or significant learning, so we can make it extraordinary through the use of memoir. And then it preserves a moment of history, not just a documentation of dates and occurrences, but through the eyes of a person who has really lived it. Ayan. So since it is a written form, or since that event was transpired or transcribed into writings, it will become permanent. Specifically, if that memoir is published, it will remain and it will last for a long period of time. Ayan. So, napakarami na pong memoir na nagkalat sa internet, printed man or e-copy. You may see history on a specific perspective, basically on the perspective or on the view of a certain person. So Yun yung importance ng memoir. So, for example, um, the uh, for example, the Yolanda period or the Yolanda event or the time where the super typhoon Yolanda hit the Philippines, specifically the Visayas region. It is transpired, it is written in the history of the Philippines, not just the Philippines, but in the world, or the history of the world. But you may look on the different views, on the different sides of that specific life event by looking or by searching for memoirs which contains that specific event, or the event that, or the time where Super Typhoon Yolanda hit the Philippines. And you may see how different a story is to the others if it is written on the perspective of a certain person. Ayan. So, maghanap po kayo. Try to look for memoirs that contains that specific uh, episode of the Philippines. And tingnan nyo po kung paano nagkaiba-iba yung um, story, kung paano nagkaiba-iba yung lesson, yung views kay Super Typhoon Yolanda sa pamamagitan po nung pagkukwento ng iba't ibang writers. So, through memoir, nakikita natin yung iba't ibang sides ng story, ng event sa ating history. So, yun yung isa niya pang importance. Also, there is a certain degree of emotion and subjectivity involved because it includes the author's personal feelings and is told solely from his perspective. So, later on, I have mentioned that memoir is subjective since it is written on the perspective or the point of view of a certain person. But, it contains facts. Okay? It contains someone's experiences, basically first-hand information or first-hand experiences. So, you may feel the emotion of that person or of the character of our memoir because it is written on his or her feelings. It is basically coming from his or her experiences. So, you may feel the real emotions of the writer. Ayan. So, subjective po siya, but it contains facts. Ayan. So, creative nonfiction siya. Stories that contains factual information, but creatively done. Okay? It may also contain idiomatic expressions. It may contain figurative languages that may add up to the beauty of the story. And then, memoirs can be a great opportunity to focus awareness on issues that may not otherwise be given much notice. So, again, sabi ko nga po kanina, it focuses or it may contain a specific historical event that somehow impacted the life of a certain person, and he or she shares his realization on that specific historical event through the use of memoir. So, somehow, kay memoir, nakakapag-focus tayo dun sa mga issues na hindi gaanong napagtutuunan ng pansin, but on our side, or on the writer's part or side, karapat-dapat pagtuunan and malaki yung epekto sa kanya. So, yun pa yung isang significance or importance ni Memoir. Na didiscuss or natatackle natin yung mga issues na hindi gaanong natatackle sa mainstream media or sa mainstream literary pieces. Okay? And then, we have the steps in writing a memoir. I think this will be the last part. Okay? The first step is that you're going to choose an event in your life that is important to you or which is somehow impacted you the most or which has the most effect or that has affected your life in a bigger way. Ayan. So it can be we can say that uh, it can be your birthday, but not the usual birthday. Ayan. So your birthday that is different among your birthdays or among the days that you have celebrated your birth, or it can be a usual day but has a great impact on your life. Okay? So, sa Filipino nga, 'di ba, sabi, pumili ng paksa, choose a topic that is close to your heart para naman talagang mapagtuunan natin ng pansin. And then, the second one is that you're going to start at the beginning. Ayan. So, you may somehow build you may somehow build an atmosphere wherein your readers may feel your emotions on that specific life event. Ayan. So, you may start at the time where you woke up that day para naman hindi mabigla or your audience will not be shocked. Ayan. So, set up the mood. Ayan. So, that's basically the meaning of this one. You're going to set up the mood. Ayan. So, build up the atmosphere so that your audience will not be shocked. Okay? And then, next is you're going to layer in the details and use imagery. So, you're going to somehow give information one by one based on what happened on that day. And you may add up words that will make or that will help the audience imagine the situation or the events on that day. Okay? So, as we define imagery, these are words that will help the audience see the picture, see the situation. Okay? So, use words or sensory words that will appeal to the senses of the readers, and these words will help them feel the emotion, see the places that you have mentioned on your memoir. Okay? After reading your memoir, they will taste the food that you have mentioned. They will smell the scents of the perfume that you have used on that specific life event. Okay, so those are the use or the help of imagery. You will help your audience to be in that life event. And lastly, you're going to add your reflection. So I think this is the most important part of your memoir. You're going to add your realization. After that event, after that instance or situation, what happened to your life. What lessons or what lesson has that event has brought to you? Or what is the impact of that event to your life? You're going to give that lesson on the last part of your memoir. Okay? So basically, those are the steps in writing a memoir. Hindi naman, it doesn't need to be detailed as long as you have used transitional devices and your audience can follow your story. It is already good. Okay? Hindi naman kailangan na as in lahat ng nangyari, detailed by detailed, ultimo yung alikabok na lumipad noong araw na yon ay isama mo. As long as na-build mo, naibigay mo yung pagkakasunod-sunod ng mga events during that day, and you have given us the impact of that event on your side, it is good enough. Okay? So, those are the tips, or I think the steps, the basic steps in writing a memoir. Okay? So, I think that is um, that's all. That is all for this lesson. And before I end this lesson, I want to leave this quotation to you. So, let me read the quotation. Ayan. So, no one knows the story of your life better than yourself. By yours truly. Ayan. So, walang mas nakakakilala, walang mas nakakaalam sa kwento ng buhay natin, kundi tayo lang. Ayan. So, kung meron man na makakapagbigay ng pinakamagandang version ng kwento natin, tayo lang din yon. Okay? So, yes, merong mga magagandang biographies tayong nababasa, pero kung yung biographies na yon or kung yung kwento ng buhay na yon ay maririnig natin mismo doon sa tao na taong pinapakita or kinukwento doon, mas mararamdaman natin yan. Okay? So, ayan. So, by that, let me give my thanks and appreciation for listening and watching this video. Again, as I have said, and as I am always saying on my past video recordings, thank you and have a great day ahead. Stay safe always. Goodbye.